Welcome. Allow yourselves to settle and arrive. We will begin in 1 minute. Welcome to Awakening Torah Mussar Mindfulness. We are in the Torah portion, the Hebrew Bible section, known as a parasha, as a Torah portion. Ev Re'eh. Welcome. Shalom, Susan. Good to see you. So first, what we do here is we say welcome, that I am Rabbi Chasya Steinbauer, the founder and director of the Institute for Holiness, Kehilat Mussar. Today is Sunday, August 28th, and it is Rosh Chodesh Elul, the first day of the month of Elul in the Hebrew calendar. A big day because it's a preparatory month of lots of what we call Cheshbon HaNefesh, the accounting of the soul, leading into Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and of course the 10 days in Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. So this is an excellent day. It is, for me, a happy day. That might seem contradictory when people think of the heaviness of taking responsibility and apologizing and seeking what we call teshuvah, of repentance, but this is a great day, and I'm grateful to have all of you here at our 48th sitting. It is a blessing. So as we begin, first what we do before we jump in, as you know, is that we do our kavanot, our intentions for today, which I have here. If you are joining us visually, you will see them here. Otherwise, you will hear on audio, as we are live streaming on our YouTube channel or on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Then you can hear also on our podcasts what these kavanot, these intentions are. So first we say, because we see this act of spending this short time together, of learning Torah, Mussar Mindfulness, as an act of radical self-care, to practice, to take refuge in community, to be together, we say, this is something I'm doing to strengthen my own soul in order to be a benefit to others in the future. And then we say, we also see this as doing something for others, because if we strengthen ourselves, balance our midot, we act better towards others, we cause less harm and suffering. So we say, this is something I'm doing to strengthen my relationship to others, so I can be a better conduit of the divine's good, God's good to others when they need me, however you define God. And finally, we see this as strengthening our relationship with the divine. We end up developing more faith over time, amunah, and it strengthens us on all levels, self, community, others, and with the divine. So we say, this is something I'm doing to strengthen my relationship with the Creator. Even if I'm not sure who the Creator is or how to connect to them, everyone's welcome, all arranged. Those who have, a strong relationship with the divine and those who don't, so that we can all be a better conduit of God's good to others when they need us. So that is our merit. That is what we hope that we merit during this session, that we bring to this learning and practice together. So if you're new to us today, then I will just share briefly that what we do is I share a little talk on the Torah portion, and then we move into a guided mindfulness meditation practice around it together. And then we have a short moment of question and answer that is available at the end. So you're welcome to participate in that. Welcome to all who are joining. Great to see you. Shalom, Sarah. Shalom, Susan. And anyone else who's joining us live stream. So let's jump in. Of course, if you read this Torah portion, Re'eh, either yesterday in community at your minyan or synagogue, or you just studied it yourself on your own, then you know that this Torah portion is huge. It's as if Moshe, who was once someone of a heavy tongue, who couldn't speak, now wants to get everything out before he passes away, right? He's like our grandfather, our Saba, who wants to tell us everything that he anticipates going to happen to our ancestors who were ages 0 to 20, who are about to enter the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. Okay, so it's too much to cover in one session, but I do want to point out some very important things and then practice around it. So the first I want to say is what you notice happening during this Torah portion is a centralization of one location where there's going to be the main sanctuary, what we end up calling the Beit Hamikdash, the temple. So if you think about what happened in the desert when when our ancestors were taken out of the institution of slavery from Egypt and resided for 40 years in the desert, they had a little mishkan, right? They had a sanctuary that they built up, broke down and traveled with, and then built it back up again. And that was the central place in which they encountered service to the divine and purification offerings and joy offerings and all sorts of offerings that was going on in the desert. And now there's the concern of what are these people going to do, that they're entering the land of Canaan, where each tribe is going to get its own land and they're going to be spread out very far distance from one another, much farther than they ever were in the desert together. And so we're told that God is going to pick a location that they will do this centralized leadership, the centralized worship, and in a sense, these offerings that are given, sacrifices, right? That the sacrifices will be restricted to one location. Now, you have to think about this. This is going to be a huge shift and change in how those who are not close to that temple, how they're going to live out their Judaism, how they're going to live out their lives. We don't often think about this, but they're too far to travel in daily to do any offering or even purification. And they basically are distanced from it. It's difficult to give any type of thanksgiving offering, sin offering, any type of ceremony or vows. So, and this is the first time that consumption of meat will not be tied to the sanctuary. Okay, this is the first time you're seeing permission, because in a sense, they have to, right? The people live too far. The people can consume meat outside of it. Why do I tell you all this? Because there's going to be a shift in who's practicing what, depending on how close you are to that central nucleus of that temple. So what else is going on? Okay, so in the book of Deuteronomy called Devarim that we're in, the 5 books of Moshe, the final one, it basically, if we think about our ancestors and when they compiled this and wrote this, right, they must have really expected that some other religious activity was going to go on for everyone that lived too far from the temple. There's no way they would have allowed kind of what we would call a religious vacuum to happen. Like, oops, sorry, see you during the 3 pilgrim festivals, right? The Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. That it just wouldn't happen. Their lives were so full of everything being told kind of how to live and how to be, that you can't imagine now that they're just kind of going to dump the rest of the tribes not close to where the temple is going to be and only see them for the 3 pilgrimage festivals. So scholars, and in particular, if I'm looking here at the Jewish Publication Society's Torah commentary on Deuteronomy, I highly recommend it. It's actually written by Professor Tigay. I don't remember how to pronounce his name or her name. They basically suggest that perhaps it was fulfilled by studying and prayer. Now, that's a suggestion. I don't know how much evidence there is there at the beginning of really when they are conquering the land, and also when they're farmers, they're so busy living and taking care of their lives that I don't know how much time could be committed, at least to study. You could pray, obviously. But why am I even bringing this up? Why is this important for us today? Because today, and as we enter the month of Elul, many of us live far from community, far from a centralized place, far where we feel God's presence, far where we might not be an organized community, or if we are, we might not even feel 100% connected. And so what I want us to look at deeply is, what is the wisdom from this Torah portion, from that our ancestors want us to learn? There's something here for us, because like the ancestors who are not going to live near the sanctuary, we have to figure that out for ourselves. what are we going to focus our lives and our practice in? So thank God for refuge and community, that those of us who practice this Mussar mindfulness do have something that we do on a daily basis and connect with our learning partners in our group and really have that. And we are building that sacred community. And we invite anyone to join in and do this because it is so sacred and we feel it. And so let's look at what our ancestors want us to look at here in this parasha. So we are told when they enter that they have to go on 2 different mountains and recite blessings and curses. So our ancestors first want us to follow the path of blessings, follow the path of life, right? It sounds simple, but often we go off the derech, right? We go off the path. And so really what we're being guided here is choose the blessings, choose the path. And so a lot of our rabbinic ancestors, actually, our Chazal, the rabbis, really see choosing the blessings as a blessing in and of itself, like following the mitzvot, the commandments and God's path and direction. That is a blessing in and of itself. And it fulfills other blessings. Like it's a blessing that's received from doing that blessing. And so we want to consider that as we enter Elul, how can we cultivate that blessing in us and also give it to others, okay? And so what I'm going to bring up as I go through all these is how we're going to create something called Yedidut, which is this fellowship. Rabbi Wolbe, a famous Mussar teacher, may his memory be for a blessing. He's a recent teacher. He really teaches that the whole Torah is really this book of affection, that it is one in which we're to be building love and fellowship. And if our practice and our acting out these commandments are not actually building fellowship and connection, then we're not doing something right. We're actually choosing the mountain of the curses in some sense. And so, for example, he was really, before he passed away, was really starting to get really concerned that we were all so busy, particularly like busy every day of the week. Even people were filling up their Sabbath, their Shabbat with like things to do, this shiur here and this here and this here. And there was no time for quiet and stillness and reflection. And he said that's really causing us to actually be distanced from ourselves and then distance from others. And he saw it hitting, like really affecting the fabric of the American society. And I think you can witness that between our family members and then our neighbors and at large. We're just not creating this fellowship, this love of infection, right? This sharing together. So let's hold that in mind as we enter Elul. So the other thing our ancestors want us to get out of this, essentially that establish for ourselves a central sacred place for us to gather, for us to practice. So if that means right now in this Zoom space together, then that's your space, that's your sacred space, and take advantage of it. But really establish yourself a central sacred place of worship, of gathering, of practice. The other thing is to allow joy. It's actually the first time in this parsha where we get the language v'samachta, that you shall be happy, particularly recognizing the festivals of Sukkot and of Shavuot, that there's this real sense that we should be full of joy with one another. So allow for that joy in your life and your practice. We're also guided by our ancestors to always remember the other, those who are disadvantaged, that we're always bringing at least 10% of what we have if we're able to share with those in need, with those around us, to build this fellowship, right? Also, our ancestors want us to honor life. So what we notice here is that to really know that life is sacred, how it comes out in our Torah portion is to remember that if you're going to consume meat, you must spill the blood, right? That's what it says, because in the blood is the life. It's remembering that the human being can't consume and have everything it wants when it wants it, whenever it wants it. There is what we call a gavul, a border that has to be honored. And this is the sacred cycle of life, that we limit our consumption and that we spill the blood, right? It once was limited to only in the sanctuary that we shared that communal meal, right? And so to remember that, like even in our own lives today, how can we limit our consumption and make it one full of joy that we're sharing with others when we do consume it, if we are going to consume meat, all right? Then finally, our ancestors, through God's commandments and relationship, really followed the practice of, it's really interesting if you look in this parasha, it gets really difficult towards the end if you read all the way through. They really had this sense that they needed to obliterate anything that was going to cause them temptation to not follow God's path. And that means destroying property of others that they end up colonizing, perhaps even killing others. And we read this today and we think, do my people and my community and my culture and my just whoever I am in communion with, do we really need to obliterate that which might challenge us, which might tempt us? No. And we know that today, right? We don't want to cause harm and suffering. And we don't feel that we have to get rid of that which is a temptation or desire to us. Instead, we have to practice around it, right? We have to strengthen each other. But we do see this and we want to honor this. We want to honor that our ancestors felt so weak in their practice that they had to get rid of whoever else might be there worshiping idols or other people, that they couldn't even be tempted by it, right? And so that's really profound. And instead of necessarily judging it, just having compassion, that if you've ever felt in your own life where something was so challenging to you that you needed the presence of it to not be there in order for you to be living within your values and how you wanted to live, then we need to honor that. Even the rabbis always kind of consult us to make sure that we choose really good friends, good community that are in alignment with our values. And that's for a reason, because sometimes when we put ourselves in the other situation, we end up behaving in ways we don't want to or we don't agree with. But it doesn't mean that we have to get rid of everyone else who doesn't follow the way we do or our values. So I think our ancestors, in recording this and passing this on to us, want us to know that and to appreciate that we can live differently today and practice around this. Finally, I want to say that we develop this inner distance, right? This inner witness also in our practice of Mussar Mindfulness, so that we can be aware of our own suffering and if what we're causing to others. That is essentially our practice. And so that's key to have that daily mindfulness so that we're not acting out. How many times when we're not awake and alert, we have done that to other people or even ourselves. So the goal here in this parasha, if we want to label it as a goal, is one of maintaining holiness and purity. So we need to think to ourselves, what does that mean? What did our ancestors want us to learn from this? So one is, for the first time, you'll find in this parasha that we are called children of God, and that we are to behave as children of God. Whatever that means to you and your values, behave as someone who is a child of God and in alignment with those values. So what might some of that mean? In the Torah portion, it looks at what animals are you going to consume and which ones you can't. It's really having that submission to that the human being shouldn't be doing whatever he or she wants, when they want, whenever they want. So it's about a certain internal submission, having boundaries, limitation to what we consume and what we don't, a reverence for life, a deep reverence for life, and compassion for animals. So this kind of building of an equitable society, being aware of who is carrying too much debt, who might be dealing with poverty, that we don't want to live and perpetuate a society like that. We even have an instance here of every 7 years that we forgive loans. I know in the United States here, facing some dealing with student loans and forgiving those. And so it's an interesting case to look at why would society want to do that? Who's stuck in poverty or in very low income because of that debt, and for how long? And the Torah has that wisdom in this parasha of Re'eh to look at, and that our ancestors were looking at that and concerned with that. And God wanted us to be mindful of that. So we're going to move into a mindfulness meditation practice together on Menochat HaNefesh, on equanimity, because this is so about this month of Elul. How are we going to ride our surfboard with the waves that are coming, of us taking responsibility, of us forgiving, of asking for forgiveness, of really approaching this with the joy that comes when you know that you are living how you want to live and that you're in alignment. So I shared this quote earlier with some students, and I'm going to share it again. So Susan, forgive me for hearing this twice. But it's a wonderful quote here from Rabbi Avraham Eliel Kaplan, and he was born in 1890 and died in 1924. And he says, our unceasing inner gaze, meaning our practice of Mussar Mindfulness, it really is an act towards responsibility that leads to remembrance. What are we remembering? Remembering that all the wisdom passed down to us and resilience from our ancestors, and remembering God, right? And our relationship. Remembrance leads to concern. We're concerned. How's our behavior? How are we doing? Are we growing? Are we on the path? Concern leads to confidence. Why does it lead to confidence? Because we're taking refuge in community. We are doing this together. We know we can do it. We can strengthen one another and help one another. Confidence leads to strength, and strength leads to serenity, to equanimity, to this calmness of the soul, because you know that you are practicing, you know you're on the path. And he finally says it leads to wholeness, to shleimut, internally and externally, in thought and in deed. So with that, come to your meditation posture. It can be lying down, standing, walking, or a sitting posture. If you're seated like me, please allow your feet to rest on the ground. If you are sitting in a chair, if you're on a meditation cushion, then allow your knees to fall. The reason why I want the ground in contact with you is so that you feel held in case there's any trauma in your background or even present, that you can know that you're here. You can also open your eyes and look around and touch base again if you feel that you're either leaving your body or something's too intense for you. It's not going to be that type of meditation, but you never know where you are in your practice. So just to honor whatever comes up for you. So for the rest of us, you will sit created in the image and likeness of the divine. So with a beautiful, strong posture, not West Point stiff, one that is relaxed but alert. You can let your hands rest on your lap or on your chest. If you feel safe, I suggest to close your eyes if you have vision. Otherwise, lower your gaze so that it's soft and sitting in front of you. And we will begin with 3 deep cleansing breaths. So inhalation and exhalation. Notice the shoulders begin to fall. Inhalation. Beginning to arrive and settle. Exhalation. One more deep inhalation. Coming to stillness. Allowing your breath to just fall naturally now, however it does. No need to control it. We begin with a short scan to see what is here for you. Needing to know what's here so that we can accept it without judgment, to approach it with curiosity, with love, with affection, to lean in and attend and befriend. So what is happening? Are there any strong sensations in the body calling for your loving attention? Maybe there's excitement, butterflies in the stomach. Woohoo, it's Elul, it's dancing. We're here together. Whatever is here for you, simply note it, recognize it, allow it. Noticing and maybe even using a mental noting what the sensations are like, whether it's hot, comfort, tension, maybe unpleasant, neutral, or pleasant. Doing a short, gentle body scan through your toes and up your body. Any emotions that are coming with your sensations in the body, just recognizing them. No need to push them away. Bringing a gentle self-compassion for whatever is here for you. Investigating the felt sense of any emotion that is traveling through your experience right now. And then noticing your thoughts. Are you ruminating about something in the past? Or maybe planning for something in the future? Gently, just kindly bring yourself back to my voice as your anchor, back to your breath and body as your anchor. Allowing yourself to be here. And from time to time, I will go silent. Know that I am still here and will begin guiding again. Just gives you a quiet opportunity to practice. Equanimity, known as menochat hanefesh, a calmness of the soul, is a spacious and balance of heart. We're all aware of the Serenity Prayer and the Alcoholic Anonymous movements or the other narcotics or overeaters, whatever group it may be. It says, may I have the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So as we begin this Elul practice and this meditation right now with whatever arises, make sure you take an inventory over this month of the things you cannot change and become very clear about that. And then we are given strength, the courage to change the things I can. Asking for God's help, doing it with others in community. What needs to be changed? And finally, the wisdom, the insight to know the difference. We build this in our practice daily. Wisdom recognizes that we're all heir to our own karma, that we can act and receive the fruits of our actions. We can deeply love others and even ourselves and offer them or ourselves assistance. But in the end, they must learn for themselves and must be the source of their own practice and liberation. The same goes for us. Equanimity combines the understanding mind together with a compassionate heart. Bring a soft attention to your breath until your body and mind are calm. Allow yourself the gift to sense what a peaceful heart may feel like, and you bringing that peaceful heart to the world. allowing yourself to feel an inner sense of balance and ease. No need to force it or control it. If it's not there for you, just accept that. That's okay. And we begin repeating this phrase after me. You may do it to yourself quietly. May I be balanced and at peace. May I be balanced and at peace. Acknowledge to yourself that all things arise and pass away. Joys, sorrows, people, buildings, even whole civilizations. Rest in this insight. And you may add the following phrase. May I learn to see the arising and passing of all with equanimity and balance. May I learn to see the arising and passing of all with equanimity and balance. May I be open, balanced, and peaceful. May I be open, balanced, and peaceful. Know in this month of Elul leading to the new year, where you may take responsibility for suffering that you have caused to others and ask for forgiveness. Know that once you have really asked for that forgiveness, and it's sincere, and you have done all that you can do to take responsibility, it is knowing that it is up to that person that you are speaking to for them to do their practice now. And so you may add this phrase to yourself right now in this practice. Your happiness and suffering depend on your own thoughts and actions, not my wishes for you. Your happiness and suffering depend on your thoughts and actions, not my wishes for you. So much of this month is about us learning to forgive ourselves. We all know when we have not only missed the mark, but caused harm and suffering. And if that is the case for you this year, there'll be practice in you really forgiving yourself once you have done all that you can to do what's called tikkun, to correct it. And so the practice around equanimity for you is to say, may I have true equanimity. May I bring compassion to myself and to the events of the world. May I learn to see and accept the arising and passing of all things with equanimity and balance. May I practice so that I live with a peaceful heart. May I practice so that I live with a peaceful heart. As we move into our last minute of silent meditation, I will pull you out with my words and closing the meditation, inviting you back into our sacred Zoom space. For the next minute, we move into silence. If you have your eyes shut, gently and slowly open them. Allow yourself to get used to the light. Thank you for your practice, being here together. We accept sponsorships every week for those in honor of somebody or in memory of someone who has passed. Just be in touch with me either on the website or email. And of course, we accept donations for this free will offering of any amount. We even receive $1.99 donations on Insight Timer to support this offering and practice, and everything that you give really enables us to keep offering this. And I thank you for whatever you donate. And now we will spend some time. For those who have joined us live on the Zoom link, welcome. You're welcome to just share how your experience was. Make sure you say your name and where you're from. And you're welcome to ask any questions or make any comments. And you're also welcome to remain silent. But if you do, I ask that you attempt to put on your video and share with us. No need to be shy. Okay, I'm going to take, oh, Sarah, are you joining us? Go ahead, please.
Well, I want to thank you so much for the beautiful, beautiful meditation. It was really deep and rich. And yeah, it allowed me to realize the expression from Torah and God that I will be that which I will be. And so as you said, you know, may I be at peace, may I be full of compassion, may I, all of these things, that aspect of God, of Hashem, we can bring in, because that's the beauty of where we need to reach out and ask for that connection. And it will bring just beautiful, beautiful, that which we need. And so I'm grateful. I also saw myself processing different dimensions of exile, as you are in Israel and I am not, and we're approaching now the high holidays, and you were talking about the distance that many Jews had from not only the Beit HaMikdash, but from Yerushalayim, and the travel and here I am in the United States, and that there's this, and Moshe Rabbeinu maybe trying to understand and give the Jews a sense of that connection with the land upon entering and leaving that physical exile, but then how many different dimensions of emotional exile within ourselves, of those parts of ourselves we have not embraced. And what about the exile of our lack of embracing the whole Jewish community of diversity? And there's so many parts of that. And when you were talking about the idea of destroying those that are worshiping avodah zorah, idol worship, and we don't need to destroy the other, that was really fear-based.
Mhm.
So if we were to approach the other, including Jews of varying reform, conservative, renewal, all
Mhm.
without fear, how would that change us?
Yeah.
And all, so I was just reflecting on all those different levels of exile. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Sarah. And you're joining us from California, correct? Yes, I just like to give location. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Very grateful. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. We have two Susans here. Either one of you would like to share your experience or any comments or questions?
So I just want to thank both of you. You know, Sarah, thank you. That whole sort of your talk around exile, emotional exile, whatever form it takes, which, you know, you picked up from Rabbi Chasya, is thank you. That was really enlightening, and, you know, I sort of had this emotional reaction to that, and it's something for me to keep in mind. So I thank both of you for today.
That's beautiful and very vulnerable and courageous to share. Yeah, to notice what comes up when someone brings up something powerful. It's like, oh, maybe that does apply to me, right? I need to look at that in the next month. It's profound. It's beautiful. It's one of those things, sorry, that you made me remember, like, you know, when someone comes like you and you share something so profound and beautiful, and you realize that it's like, it's shefa, it's abundance and a gift from God, that it's being brought right here and right now in this moment, and it's supposed to open all of us to consider that in this next month. And it's a gift. It's a chen, it's grace. So thank you. I'm so grateful. And Susan, just please tell us where you're from. I know where you're from, but, you know, for everyone else who's here, you're on mute still.
So this
I'm
is
from
Oh, wait, Susan, that's the other Susan. Just wait for Susan.
other Susan. So Susan Matsui, this Susan Alderman is from New York City.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And then Susan, did you want to share?
Oh, I apologize. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Great. Are you able to join on screen or not right now?
I'm not. I changed locations from earlier.
That's okay.
And I'm not getting
all right.
reception. I'm
Any
sorry.
no, it's okay. Any comments, questions?
I found it extremely helpful because, as I shared earlier, I'm new to this. This is my first Elul, and this is all new to me, and I've learned so much today. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I can't tell you what a privilege and an honor and a blessing it is to be on this journey with you, Susan, and escorting you as someone experiencing Elul and the New Year for the first time. It's a great zechut, it's great privilege and just joy. So thank you. And it's all about that, what I mentioned with Rabbi Wolbe, this yedidut, this fellowship, that we really taking refuge in community together and building this world of affection, which he saw as the whole Torah, this world of affection. So God bless you all. So grateful for today and the practice. I hope to see you, Bezrat Hashem, next Sunday. And be in touch with us. Feel free, if you haven't already, to fill out the form of what your interests are and how we can practice and learn together here at the Institute for Holiness. Take care, all of you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Chodesh Tov. Good